Hello, everyone, and welcome to Left Face. This is the Pikes Peak Region podcast where we talk about political views from a veteran's point of view. I am your co-host, Dick Wilkinson, and I'm joined this morning with Adam Gillard. Good morning, Adam.
Morning, Dick. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I have, as all of us veterans enjoy, I have a VA doctor's appointment this afternoon. So,
Yeah, those could turn into like hours of frustration. So
yeah,
good luck.
I get the feeling this one's going to be a snip, snap, and out the door. So that'll be good. Yeah,
man. I've been going to the VA for a few things, and like it's noticeably a longer wait, like on the phones and things like that. Like I would reach out to community care a week ago, and I was on hold for 45 minutes. I just hung up. Yeah, that was the test of my patience that day. Yeah. But I called back like a day later, and it was another 25 minutes on hold before I got me.
Yeah. Well, that's all I'm doing today. I'm living that, retiree life. You remember being on base and you saw the old people down at the pharmacy, and you could tell that that's what they did.
That
was hang out in the pharmacy, lobby. Yeah. So I'm there now.
Yeah, that's where we're
already. Yeah. I'm not old enough to be there, but I'm there. So, let's jump into it, man. We've got a lot of ground has been covered since last week. Of course, last week was when we were first talking about Renee Good and the shooting in Minneapolis, and there's been more shootings since then. And that was what I said last week was I'm surprised this doesn't happen every week. Well, it's happened twice again since then. So
did you see last night in Minneapolis, they released a green fog type thing?
Mm-hmm. Crowd dispersal type?
Yeah, I can't remember situation. What the it's something that makes the crowd like loopy and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
There's a chemical name for it. It's banned in use for like
crowd control,
Geneva Convention.
Yeah,
but the Trump administration, this isn't, this is our folks, so we can do whatever fucking
right. Yeah, the Geneva Conventions don't apply.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah. So
police and military.
Yeah, there's some video out there of like a green fog.
Oh man,
being
wasn't it Scarecrow in the Batman movies that used the fog to make people hallucinate and start attacking each other?
Well, that's kind of what it is. It makes you. It makes you good feeling drug.
Yeah.
Whatever those words are.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's a good upper, but. I mean,
I'm going to start going to protests if they're just spraying feel-good stuff out into the street.
I think it's just another step towards trying to cause chaos.
Maybe it was walls. Maybe because he wanted to turn it. He's like, let's get them pumped up on nitrous down.
Yeah. Just try to turn everybody into like a flower child. Everybody love everybody.
Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, but I think it's the Trump administration trying to get people to get violent so that he can do the Insurrection Act.
Well, that was the news that I woke up to this morning. It was the top of my CNN app was Trump threatens Insurrection Act over protests in Minneapolis. Mm-hmm. And yesterday there was another person got shot. Apparently it was a man that's of Venezuelan origin. He was fleeing the scene of some ICE activity in Minneapolis. They were trying to arrest him, and he got shot in the leg. That's all I know. I don't know if he was in a car and they shot into the car or if he was running from them on foot. Like, I don't really know the details on that. But that's the most recent one. So, yeah, the protests, last night got more
last night,
because that happened yesterday.
It was a man and 2 kids or a man and 3 kids. I can't remember how many kids he had in his car. Got hit with a flashbang and they all had to go to the hospital, too. It looked like the car was hit with it. So, like, these kids he was trying to get his kids away from the protests.
Yeah.
And they were...
Oh, they're going... literally ballistic on people, right? Flashbangs, pepper spray, pepper balls, tasers, just.
I saw a guy get hauled off at a gas pump. Mm-hmm. He had like 2 or 3 agents on top of him, and then he went limp. And they all kind of got up, kind of shocked looking. Yeah. And he never moved again. They just dragged him off.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard that. That was days ago.
Yeah.
Who knows what happened to that man?
The violence is obvious. It's not, it seems unchecked at this point,
Yeah, and Tim Walz, Governor Walz, he came out with his statement to President Trump, like, hey, let's de-escalate this, let's calm down, and to Minnesota citizens, like, don't react, don't get violent. But I can't believe folks haven't gotten more violent. I'm surprised like there hasn't been more things, and like I don't like that. Like I think that one of the greatest lessons the civil rights movement taught us is that you can change the world through peace. And there was some violence and there was a lot of nasty stuff during there, but like, Dr. King and Lewis, they preached peace and they lived it. While they were getting their asses kicked, but they showed that you can do it. Gandhi did it too.
Well, yeah, what that does is it creates that juxtaposition of your peaceful position with the violent or the authoritarian position. It makes that side of it look more out of place, right? Yeah. It makes the authoritarian effort look like it's obvious and it's out of place because, you've got a stated goal that doesn't require violence, but they have to use violence to stop you from reaching that goal. Right. And so it highlights it, right? It just makes it glow in the dark, right? And so that's...
But in this case, they don't care.
Sure. Well, I mean, the aggressors never care, right? Like, they always think that stepping on you harder is
the answer.
Yeah, right? And it takes basically a critical mass of the pacifist side of it to be, outnumber, basically. There's too many people to step on, right? We've only got so many boots. There's too many people to step on. So it looks like we've lost this fight, right? And then, of course, policy has to come through and actually enact that, right? So that's how the Civil Rights Act worked, right? Or the Civil Rights Movement worked. And I don't know how that would play out in today's situation. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I mean, we're watching it. We're watching it happen, but I don't know what I guess they didn't know what was going to happen then either, right? We can look back and have hindsight's 2020.
Right.
So how this unfolds and how peaceful or pacifist or moderately annoying protests that take place, like throwing baloney at people's cars.
Oh,
go for it. Throw snowballs and baloney all day long.
There was a giraffe that got arrested the other day. A guy in like a giraffe outfit.
Oh, okay.
And like he's kind of like heckling the cops and the ICE folks and everything like that. And they come up and they arrest him. It's the guy recording the video is like, "Get off the giraffe!" It's just like so ridiculous. It's one of those things where like it's just a guy in a giraffe costume yelling at you, and you guys tackled him to the ground and like, come on, man, like. There's just no training and no like maturity with these folks.
There's crowd control is it's a discipline within law enforcement or military activity. Understanding how to present, a crowd control front, right? Control front, whatever, right? There's training on how to do that. And there's basically books written about how to do that kind of stuff, right? And you don't see any of that kind of discipline or maturity of effort from these ICE people when they show up in the streets, right? They show up in the streets and it's like, okay, it's let's get a perimeter, and then they just it turns into a clown show, right? They get out of their cars, they're outnumbered 3-1, and then they just literally are like, just like skating around and trying to punch at anybody. It's
even
disgraceful to watch.
Their little leader there, he just pops off, canisters of gas like nothing. It's nothing. Like he was getting into his SUV the other day, and some kids were harassing him. And as he's stepping into it, just popped it off and popped
throws
it out. SUV.
Yeah.
Like what the?
I see that on videos all the time. They're like, "Oh, time to go." I was watching CNN live the other day, and this was yesterday afternoon, or maybe the day before, but it was before the sun went down in Minneapolis, and there was a guy there watching, basically this situation where, just like I was describing, the ICE people were outnumbered 2 or 3-1. So everybody was standing around just like, "Hey, you're a punk. You shouldn't be doing this. You should just go home. Leave us alone." That was it. That's all that was happening. And they were freaking out. The ICE people were freaking out, trying to, like I say, punch their way out of the crowd.
Yeah.
Which they should have just gotten their cars and left. And so that's what they did.
Yeah.
And just like you said, they threw flashbangs and pepper, those smoke canisters out just as they were leaving the scene, right? Yeah. I assume the tactical advantage there is keep them from following us. But if you're leaving in cars and all these people are on foot, that's not necessary. You first of all, you didn't have to stop there in the first place. Right. If you saw a group of 50 or 60 people, don't go over there and say, "Let's go find some brown people."
Let's check some ideas.
Right? That's probably a bad idea, right? And so that goes back to highlighting the absolute haphazard nature of the whole mission, right? The morning briefs before they all roll out. They're like, all right, here's what we're doing today. And there's no plan, It's just like, start on this street and go east and see who you see, right?
When you tell me something like that, walking up to these crowds, and it's just, the way they're going about things, to me, it sounds deliberate. Because there are people in these units that do have some experience in training. Mm-hmm. Even the guy that killed...
Yeah, he was a 10-year ICE veteran.
So, when you're walking into a bad situation, and you shouldn't be doing that to begin with. You know what I mean? So,
for sure.
Yeah, so it's not just like they're the Keystone Cops running around out there. But, it's a deliberate chaos.
Yeah, I mean, I assume they say, hey, you guys have these streets or this quadrant, right? Go out there and just start on one corner and move your way through to the other corner of that quadrant. Yeah. And whatever you encounter while you're there, go for it, right? That's what it seems like is happening right now. So, and that's where that restraint of maybe some of the more disciplined or veteran officers just gets thrown out the window, right? Because you're, again, talking about getting outnumbered. You're outnumbered 4-1 of people who are just looking for a fight, right? And so you're like, hey, that's not what we're supposed to be doing today. Yeah. They're like, well, I don't know why you joined ICE, but that's what I'm here to do.
Right. Yeah. So blatant.
Yeah.
And so, the end goal that, folks think that, Trump wants to do this Insurrection Act and really be able to use not just ICE, but the military.
That's the bridge that gets crossed if that happens. Yeah. And that's where you take National Guards from other states and send them to that other state, right?
Yeah. And so you're not killing your neighbor.
Exactly. That's it. You get to dehumanize that local population and go, well, they're not from Texas. They're from Somalia.
Well, yeah. Right? ICE agents are from Texas, Minnesota and stuff like that. That's what. It makes
that's deliberate.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. And something I found interesting the other day, I saw a map of the U.S. overlaid on Europe, and it literally goes from Ireland to Moscow.
Yeah. Size-wise. Sure.
So, there's so much, space in between. So, taking somebody from Maine to California, there's a lot of, distance.
Cultural distance.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It seems like they want to do something like that. But,
Well, that's a classic, just whether it's done overtly or not. Any occupying force or empire type regime always tries to use a disproportionate one population against another, right? Yeah. And so there's always a way to create an imbalance of power, right? And that's done often by taking people from one place and giving them this authority that didn't exist until you said it existed.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah. So that's
colonialism is what you're saying.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, empire building, right? Yeah, that's what I was saying. And so that's part of any authoritarian playbook, I guess, is what I'm saying. So,
yeah. And so now the American government's really kind of again looking at expanding its military budget and its scope to really include us citizens here.
Oh, sure. The Insurrection Act might be very expensive, is what we were talking about last week, right? So,
and just off the top of my head too, the disappointment with the Senate. A couple of Republican senators caved, and so the war powers.
restrictions about Venezuelan activities
don't matter.
Brushed away.
Yeah. So we're back to it with Venezuela. But us being the good guys we are, we do feel the need to protect Iranian citizens.
Yes.
Attacks are imminent is from everything that's being read online.
Can't believe it hasn't already happened.
That's kind of where I'm at too. I think they kind of pump the brakes when they see things. They're like, "Oh, who leaked it on Signal?" And so I think they'll pump brakes just to kind of give a little.
Oh, sure. Okay.
But it's coming. We're probably gonna do some pretty big bombs over there again.
Yeah.
And to help with their people overthrowing
disrupting the regime. Yeah.
But then, what's the plan after that? Are we coming in to fix their nation? Because they're already crippled.
Yeah.
That's why this is happening.
Right.
But the crackdown that their government's had on them, I've heard anywhere from 2,000 officially to 12,000 unofficially through the nonprofit groups.
And the numbers the numbers that I've been watching this week were lagging behind what you had told me a few days ago until today. And every morning when I go to the gym, I always just see the news headlines, but I'm not watching the TV. I can't hear it. So I'm just reading a lot of the news. Yeah. And every day it's gone, there might be 195 dead. And that was the day that you told me there might be as many as 2,000. And then the next day it was 600 dead. And then today it was 2,500 dead. And I was like, okay, that's believable, right?
Yeah.
Because the videos are showing just stacks of bodies, right?
Yeah, the pictures in the morgues and things like that.
Stacks of bodies. Yeah. Like, there's no other way to describe it, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, you know, all those folks are people with families. Like you don't like kill people like that and just like expect it to go.
They're not. They're not armed insurgents. No. They're not a terrorist force.
No,
it's not an invading force from. It's not like a false flag from Syria where there's some armed group rolling in. No, these are just the people on the street.
Yeah. And so every folk you kill there though, like you're creating 4 more that want to. Overthrow you. You know, like they're just.
But they've done this, before. This situation it's bigger. I agree. But every time it's gotten bigger, and every time it almost seemed like this is it. This is it. It's gonna happen. And then it just, when it goes away, it just goes away so fast. You know, when
there was a lot of movement a couple weeks ago, and they think that they moved a lot of their gold out of the country.
Oh, I heard about that. Yeah.
And then I guess on the digital side, like a lot of like the Ayatollahs moving a lot of money out. And
so
stuff like that.
As they get exiled versus getting killed,
right. They're going to go live next to Turkey's guy there.
I heard about that too, and that makes sense if they really believe the pressure is too much, and there's no way for them to fight back. If America does start to blast stuff over there, they have no recourse at this point. But the skirmishes they had with Israel over the last couple of years just depleted their reserves, right?
Well, yeah, their whole air defense system.
Yeah, really, I mean, everything's slammed. All their weapons are actually burnt. They did them. They shot them, and they all got shot down.
It's not even just Iran's, but their proxies too.
Yeah, they're all
Hamas.
They're all crushed. Yeah,
Houthis are really struggling.
Yeah, they can't call Hezbollah and be like, "Bring all those rocket launchers over." They'll say, "What rocket launchers?" So there's nothing. Yeah, and so there's no way to fight back, right? So I mean, but again, every time I think I've seen the Iranian regime about to just slip out the door, they don't. So I agree. This is bigger and closer to the edge than we've ever seen, but that was true back during Arab Spring, and that was true, probably twice since then. Right? So who knows, man? But the point that we were talking about was, how do we have the juxtaposition of 1 or 2 people get shot in protests here in the United States, and for the most part, there's a few thousand people out, and there's not widespread violence. But we have to have the Insurrection Act to take care of that. Mm-hmm. Where Iran, the same motion from the government of basically deploying the Insurrection Act and putting their militias into the streets and their armed, forces into the streets, that is a bridge too far.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Right.
You're violating their human rights to protest if you put the military in the streets.
Right.
But I'm going to sit in my office and talk about how I'm going to deploy the military into our streets.
Well, it's just like
and all within 5 days. Like it was the amount of time it took to get from one end to the other.
Yeah,
insane.
It's like that green gas that can't be used internationally.
Yeah,
but we can use it here.
Yeah, right.
No, guys. The hypocrisy and just the rules for thee type of attitude.
Yeah,
is just
crazy,
blatant monarch. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like it's so crazy that
I dictate what happens inside the walls of the kingdom.
Yeah.
And anybody outside, which he said this is the other thing, we didn't even write this down. What is your check on power? Does international law have anything to do with your check on power as president of the United States? And he said, no, I don't need it. Yeah. I'm not trying to hurt anybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just this morning, of that day told Iran, we're going to blow you up.
Right. Yeah.
You just
he said he
went to Venezuela and started a war down there.
Yeah. Yeah, he says he relies on his own morality.
His own morality is the only thing that keeps him in check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is now a good time to talk about the Epstein files?
Right. That's the next question.
That's one of the biggest things about all of this chaos and death and destruction that's going on.
Yeah.
Is it's a distraction from that. He doesn't want to face repercussions for consequences for his actions. So cause enough distraction over here, give yourself enough power, you never have to have accountability.
Yeah. I mean, I effectively forgot about the Epstein files over the last 10 days.
Yeah.
You're right. It worked.
Yeah, when you're facing World War III.
I didn't realize I got tricked by the puppets, I just was watching the show. Watch that, Little kid watching cartoons, man. It's like, what's it going to blow up next? Totally forgot about the Epstein files. You saw the look on my face, and I was just like, "Oh my gosh, I got tricked!"
There's like more people coming out and saying, telling their stories too, like uncorroborated right now and things like that. But like, there's horrific things that are just and only like 99% is still hidden.
That's what I heard, man. That most of it, only 1% has been released, and the. Every time I hear these numbers, these are turning into make-believe numbers of how many documents there are in my mind, because they're talking about tens of thousands of pages of stuff, and I'm like, how? There's no book that's that long. There's no, most criminal cases are not that long, right? Yeah. Like a couple hundred pages and you can wrap it up, I can't, what are there thousands of pages of? Now I get it that it's years worth of emails and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's just insane the volume of information that there is. So even if they do, put out 1,000 new documents, there's only 1.5% that's been released,
right.
So it's crazy the level of
and it's like the little that they do is still so incriminating. Like they're
trying to release the really the most safe and neutral stuff, and it's still damning.
Well, so I think it's like a beta test where like they release some stuff and they realize like, oh, we didn't search for signatures, things like that. So they're like, okay, now start searching for signatures. You know what I mean? Like they found out a lot that they we release stuff that you could be easily unredacted.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, well, the 99% that's coming out is not going to be that easy to redact anymore.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
That's true. Oh, yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah.
So drip it a little bit out, do a little beta test. We tell them all their bugs, and then they...
That's not wrong, yeah.
I'm a little cynical.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, while we're on the topic, the Clintons got subpoenaed to testify before Congress, I think it was. So it's not the DOJ.
No.
They got called by the Republicans, to come and give testimony about their relationships with Jeffrey Epstein. And they just flat out said, no, we're not doing that, and why are you even talking to us about this? Now, everybody knows why they're talking about it.
They released like a 3-page
They did, yeah.
And it was
they just said what you would expect them to say.
Exactly.
Like, this is political vendetta. This has nothing to do with, protecting victims. This is just a...
Well, and release it all. And because the stuff that has been released and that tied them to it was not nothing bad, or everything was explained,
Sure.
Because there was like pictures that were doctored and things like that.
Oh, okay. All right.
So like,
I don't care if they have something to hide or not. Like at this point, it's like you said, if the files come out, we get to decide.
Right. But so Comer's response.
Why is it still behind the door at Congress? It's not supposed to be there anymore.
Right. And then Comer's response was to hold them in contempt and treat them like terrorists. Now these are. It's just ridiculous, the double standard. Like you sit here and talk about...
I heard the Clintons moved a bunch of gold out of the United States.
CIA planes, drug runners. I've heard that
argument. They bought an apartment in Switzerland.
Yeah. I heard they were actually big in Venezuela.
Yeah.
So, the double standard...
Bill Clinton would enjoy Venezuela.
But, I mean... Cool, take them down too. I don't care. I don't care about
That's what I'm saying. I feel just release the files and then we'll all know whether they're supposed to be in trouble.
I have zero pity for any pedophile out there.
Yeah,
get them all.
Yeah,
but
and even if you're just pedophile adjacent, if you really do know what's going on and that gets you embroiled or hemmed up, good. Yeah, good. That's supposed to happen.
Yeah,
you can't turn a blind eye to that stuff. You can't go to the island and be like, I think some weird stuff's going on over there. Oh well.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. We're still like shuffleboard.
Yeah.
Do you see the Ford worker call him a pedophile protector?
Oh yeah, and
he flipped him off. Kind of gave him a couple F bombs and flipped him off.
Yeah.
And the guy gets fired. The union is standing up for him, as unions do. Standing up for the guy. But his GoFundMe raised like $800,000.
I got to get in on that.
Yeah. Just go piss off the president.
Yeah. Yell at him. Yeah. I didn't know it was that easy. I guess, anything will make money these days. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. There's been some other places in Portland. Had some incidents with ICE, or not even ICE last week.
2 days after Renee got shot. Yeah.
They and I didn't even hear if those people ended up.
They didn't die. No, they were. The woman did get shot in the chest. The dude got shot. They shot into the car as it was moving. Similar situation.
Yeah. So against any kind of training, like you don't just.
Yeah. Right. So it was. This story goes, which there's less coverage on this, that they were both Venezuelan people and that the dude was a Trinidad gang member, and that's why there was a warrant out for his arrest. And so it was an apprehension of a specific individual, not just a street sweep. Yeah. And basically, once they made contact with him, he was like, "Oh, hey, it's ICE. It's time to go." And so he took off as they were approaching the vehicle, and they just pat, shot a couple rounds into the car. Both of them, I think, took one round and were released from the hospital that day.
So they didn't even know who else was in the car. So what was it?
I'm sure they didn't know. Yeah, and the muzzle control, as we would call it, of being aware, muzzle awareness, right? Of if you shoot this bullet and it keeps going and doesn't hit the person you want to hit, what's behind it, right? And you can't know that if you're walking up to a car, haven't been able to inspect the interior at all, and they start driving away, and you just unload your gun. You don't know who's in that car. You don't know what's in that car. You know what I'm saying? So. Yeah, and that's happening. So that was Portland.
Yeah. I talked with a friend today, and he was a security forces MP in Iraq and stuff like that, and talking about the protocols that they weren't liked over
rules
there.
Rules of engagement.
Yeah. He's like, our rules of engagement, like we weren't liked over there. We got cussed out. We got things thrown at us, stuff like that. Like you don't raise your weapon at people if they're not pointing a weapon back at you.
Right.
So our military was put under the same distress in another country. Yeah. And some folks did bad things, but a lot of our folks did the right thing and didn't respond.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, they're in genuine life-threatening situations all day long. Those people that are yelling at you and throwing baloney at you over there can blow you up. You know what I'm saying?
The folks you would hear, they're just on their way to the store. They're like, we'll stop by.
I see ice and yelling. Let's go yell at them. Yeah, right. They're not actual terrorists, right? So,
not like
the military figured out how to follow the rules of engagement during 40 different interactions with people that are potentially trying to kill you every single day when you're out on patrol. Yeah. So there's a right way to do it. We know how, right? And that's not what's happening.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. If that Insurrection Act, it would be interesting to see, what the military does.
What are the rules of engagement?
Yeah. Because you need to start defining things. Because anybody that right now really has no protections legally. All the military folks that are out there, without an actual named operation.
Yeah. You can't have rules of engagement. It's not attached to a set of orders that are part of the named operation.
So you shouldn't be doing stuff with civilians.
Whatever command hierarchy works, right? Yeah.
So it's going to be crazy, and I mean every day is just something,
Yeah, I don't know. I am skeptical that he will try to enact the Insurrection Act. I think he keeps talking about it because he knows what that saying that does, right? But I'll never put anything past President Trump. But I just don't see it happening. Not right now. Other things might happen. We could get off this, call right now, and then tomorrow 5 more people get shot, or protesters actually set some stuff on fire, right? Like, who knows? But as it stands today, even if what's going on in Minneapolis keeps happening for the next, couple of weeks, I don't see that trigger getting pulled yet. But, I mean, that's just, I'm taking a bunch of 50 different weighted inputs. I can't explain it all, but I don't feel that critical mass of that, like, it wouldn't make sense yet, right? And I'm not saying that he waits for things to make sense, right? But it needs to be a little bit more Like,
well, he's definitely laying out the pathwork for it, though, because in one of his Truth Social posts, he mentioned, I'm going to do the Insurrection Act like many other presidents before me.
mm-hmm.
And so he kind of like starts to normalize it and try to tell people like, oh no, this is just a thing I can do.
Yeah,
and
he's never said he's going to do it in 2 weeks, which means he's never going to do it, right? So we got. I guess that's one of those weighted inputs, right? Oh, he hasn't said that yet.
Yeah.
If he said that, then I'd say, no, he's never going to do it.
Then he just waits for people to forget.
It's like healthcare and Epstein and everything else, right?
Yeah.
In a couple of weeks, we'll have that solved.
Yeah.
Measles, give it 2 weeks.
You'll forget.
Yeah. Well, that's going to keep happening. We're right. There's no no way to know where's next. But as we've talked about on the show, and I hate to point this out, but it's blue cities and blue states that are getting this attention.
Mm-hmm.
And
he said that too.
Yeah, and there's no reason to believe that red places don't have people from Venezuela living there, right, at all.
Right.
Economic opportunity is what puts people's feet on the ground in different places in the United States, especially if they're immigrating. Right. So there's just as much economic activity in red states for laborers as there is in blue states.
Yeah.
Period. Right. So it's again, it just adds to the, I guess, obviousness of why it's all out of order. I mean, it's just all out of order.
Yeah, and that's the scary part is after World War II we had world order and like there's understanding on these people are protected. We help these folks. These are our friends. And now our friends are mobilizing against us. They shipped Denmark embassy folks showed up at the White House
yesterday.
Did not go well.
Yes, that's what I heard.
Yeah.
Which I wouldn't expect it to go well when Donald Trump says we're going to take Greenland the easy way or the hard way.
Yeah.
And this visit was clearly a response to that statement from about 5 days ago, right? So it took them 3 or 4 days to, decide exactly how did they want to tell him no thank you.
Yeah.
And it's one thing when the people of Denmark say it, citizens themselves that are there, or not Denmark, but Greenland, Denmarkians in Greenland. They are pretty clear about not being interested in it. But Donald Trump can talk over that, easily, right?
Yeah.
A couple of sound bites from J.D. Vance, and it just drowns out the actual local population. But when the ambassador or the foreign minister or whatever, when that person shows up, it doesn't get any more official than that. And so I feel like they just got in the room and basically both said exactly what you would expect them to say.
Yeah. Please don't.
Yeah.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. That, and it took them about an hour of repeating that, to say, all right, well, we're good, right? You can leave now, So.
And so after that meeting, though, Germany and France started moving troops towards Greenland in order for I think they said a joint exercise or a joint operation.
Okay.
I can't remember if it was an exercise and operation, what they called it.
Yeah.
The troop movements right now.
Yeah.
But like they're stationing troops to protect Greenland.
Okay.
But we talked a little bit earlier about like my big concern is we have assets on the ground at Greenland that are hugely strategic. We have big phased array antennas that really protect our East Coast from stuff coming over the pole.
Sure.
If anything kicks off in Greenland, now our most valuable strategic assets that protect the East Coast are on the front line instead of behind like 20 other lines.
Sure,
right?
Sure. Sure.
So there's a potential for the missile warning system to
be damaged. Yeah.
And even if it's not damaged, like if we do push or we put troops there and we get pushed off, then we don't even have access to our own systems. Like once we cross that line, it's all or nothing, and we lose those systems, or we just take over Greenland. But there's still a lot of potential for damage to those strategic assets that will allow our entire East Coast to be open to Russian aggression.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
So I agree from a logistics perspective that's a risk, right? There's definitely the potential for damage or just disruption to operations, even if no damage, right? But I think the takeaway, or at least I'm not observing it from quite the matter of fact level like that. I'm looking at it more of what does Donald Trump think, right? And Donald Trump doesn't think that there's any risk of actual aggression on the ground or defense from any European nation. I don't think he could even fathom an outcome where any of our bases would be disrupted or some equipment would be shot at. So
Stephen Miller said something a few weeks ago where he said like nobody's going to war over Greenland.
Yes, I think that's where Trump is at.
They could legitimately think that.
Yeah, I think that's
going to cost lives like that. That's
but the idea that we would take a strategic loss from the mission, I don't think they see that as even slightly possible. So that's why the idea of just being very aggressive or at least not willing to talk or negotiate at all with Denmark is a position of we're going to do whatever we want, right? And I really don't think anyone's going to stop us. That's what I see out of all of it, right? And I can kind of believe that. Yeah, I can believe in a reality where nobody does anything, right? Where America really does just go take it, and everybody's like, "Hey," and then that's it. I think we're a double digit chance of
we've done it once.
Yeah.
So like nobody really said anything about Venezuela.
Sure.
And Trump put out the executive order over the weekend saying that Venezuelan oil is now for the American people because the oil executive said it was like uninvestable.
Yeah.
So now the American government is running those oil fields or taking that oil for the American, and that's his executive order. So we're just blatantly stealing from the Venezuelan people.
Yeah.
So we've done it.
Yeah. Right.
There's precedent.
Yeah.
Nobody said shit.
Yeah.
Or they said no. I mean,
don't do that.
The UN's been toothless. Like, it's just been, it's a scary reality that you're right, that people could just be like, damn.
Yeah. That's it. It's just how everybody's going to be about it, right? And again, like let's step out of current affairs and let's look at the arc of time. How often or how long of a time span is it between eras where global superpowers or competitive superpowers redraw maps?
Yeah.
And what's the human rhythm of how often does that happen? I don't know. I'm not a historian.
Right? Just kind of like look back at like you think back to your history classes.
Yeah.
You look at like the Roman Empire. A few 400 or 500 years, and before that, it had its time too. But then they had the spheres of influence, and the Portugal had its time, and things like that.
Right. Yeah.
Everything
never sat on the British Empire.
Exactly. Everything's kind of a couple of hundred years.
Yeah.
And we shake it up.
Right.
And that's what the post World War II thing was supposed to be. Well, it was supposed to be like a stability for a couple of hundred years.
Right.
We were supposed to like sit in this thing and we were like, hey, let's just all be cool, man.
Right.
Like not so much like, we all be cool. We there's obviously still the sphere of influence. Yeah. But like we were not the ones going out and saying like, no, this is ours. We're taking this. This is ours. You're brown. I don't want you, but those resources you got, I want that.
Yeah, right.
Like that wasn't us. We were there to make sure that there was order, so that we could move past that as like humanity, instead of going into that cycle of every couple hundred years a new boy on the block takes over.
Yeah.
We could have moved past things. Well, we could have focused on science and technology and started saving the planet versus just continuing to kill it. Whether you believe in human climate change or not. We know something's going on. We should be able to fix it, and we're not even doing that now.
No,
like because we can't stop fucking fighting each other. Like
there you go. There, you just arrived at what my brain's been cooking on for the last 30 seconds. Was the attempt of having the United Nations and then the League of Nations before that, right? And what was meant to be this global order. Man, neither one of those were ever really set up for success in the way that you have so many hands in the pot and you have these committees like the different functions of the UN right now have been so dysfunctional for so long. When anybody on the Security Council can veto anybody else, then just nothing happens, right? Yeah. That whole thing's been neutered, right, for like 30 years, right? And there's a reason for that. I feel like smaller countries, we'll say weaker countries, less economically capable countries want the protection of the union, right? But the big dogs know that they can just step out anytime and just be like, hey, we're not going to play that game anymore. And that imbalance of power was built in, right? And it's always going to be a system like that's undoing because, well, I want my name to go in the history books. I don't want, I want the building named after me. Yeah. I want my face on the money, right? I mean, that's just people. That's how humans work, right? And so, I hate to say that we're, humankind is a warfaring kind, but we are. Right. And so there's just no way to get a 200 or 300 year cycle out of something like the UN where stability comes out of a global body like that. I feel like there's genuine resistance to any kind of global order like that, right?
Yeah,
and we see that
competing interests.
Yeah, there's too many competing interests, and like you can see the rise of ultranationalism in Europe at the same time as what's been going on in America for like the xenophobia and like you say, hey, we don't want brown immigrants, but we want brown oil, right? Like so that's happening in Europe right now, and everybody's tucking back into their own corners, and the leaders of those movements are gaining political ground. Genuine, like, hey, we don't have to hide behind the hood anymore. Yeah. We just go out in the street and tell everybody, we don't think that people from Africa should live in our country, right? That's happening in Europe all over, and those people are starting to win elections. Right. So, that tells me there's a resistance to something like a global order, right? That the like you say, competing interests and competing mindsets don't accommodate for actually giving the UN authority. They say, we want to always be able to just pull the cord at any time. Yeah. And that destabilizes those things. They never work. Right. Yeah. So that's my take on that. And I don't see the UN regaining any footing or ability in our lifetime. Right. No, like, I don't see it.
Yeah, they've lost all credibility.
Yeah.
Because, coming out of the 90s where, they did some, peacekeeping stuff in Africa and things like that. Like
the Rwanda war.
They had a name where they could have, kept doing things like that, but, kept kind of, just providing a peacekeeping force. But they don't anymore. No. And now it's they relied on NATO, and now NATO didn't pay their bills. So.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And I mean, it's also always just a place where you go to shop lofty ideals and hopes and dreams, and then when it comes down to actually negotiating the like binding pacts, nothing comes out of it, right? It's like let's do a climate agreement, right? Let's do this global update to some rules of war or something like that. Yeah. And everybody sets out, they have a big convention and everybody's like, this is what we're going to do, these aspirational goals. And then a year later when they have the like working groups release their documents, none of that stuff is in there. The aspirational goals were watered all the way down to like, well, China said they'll reduce by 2%. Yeah. And everybody else said they don't want to play. That's it. Like that's all that happens. So this is just the grown-up version of, high school, like the UN convention things that they do to teach kids about politics, right? It's just the grown-up version of that. Like they go there and talk about it and put their flag on the table and they know that it doesn't matter. So there you go. That's the UN.
That's your take on that. Well, thanks for bringing us to an end there.
Yeah. And for anybody that's listening that works for the UN, which should be 0 people, give us a call. Shoot us a note. Give us an email. Tell us why we're wrong.
Yeah, let us know how far we're off.
Tell us
how far we're right.
Yeah, that's fine too. You can remain anonymous. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, everyone.